Ever snagged like an unbelievably cheap gadget online?
Hmm.
And you're just like, how is this even possible?
Right.
We'll get ready to dive into the crazy world of international trade because things have changed
Yeah.
big time. We're talking about former President Trump's executive order.
Huge.
That really shakes up this thing called the Minimis exemption on goods from China.
Yeah.
We've got some really cool excerpts from Name of Source to help us break this down.
Great source.
We'll unpack what this all means if you're, an online shopper like most of us are these days.
Yeah.
And we'll see how businesses, both big and small, are going to have to adapt.
This is a great example of how, like, a tiny tweak to trade rules can have a ripple effect
Yeah,
across entire industries and even change the way we shop.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So first things first, what exactly is this de minimis thing?
So it was basically a rule that allowed goods under $800 to enter the U.S.
Okay.
without having to pay import taxes.
Oh, wow.
Basically a free pass for all those crazy low prices we've all gotten used to.
Wow. That's how they do it.
Pretty much platforms like Temu and Shein, their whole model is built around this.
Wow.
They ship directly from China to your door without getting hit with huge import fees.
So all those direct-to-consumer packages we see exploding all over the place,
Oh, yeah.
is that directly tied to this?
Absolutely. We're talking a massive increase from 139 million packages back in 2015
Wow.
to a projected 1.36 billion in 2024.
It's insane.
Almost 10 times more. It's completely changed online retail.
It's crazy to think about. So, okay, Temu and Shein, they're like the kings and queens of the online bargain bin.
For sure.
How did they pull it off? It sounds like de minimis was their secret weapon.
You got it. They use that exemption to offer these incredibly low prices. I mean,
Yeah.
think $5 hoodies, $12 drones, even like a full suit for $30.
What?
Yeah, crazy. Their model is totally different from, say, Amazon, which has
Right.
this massive network of warehouses and all that here in the U.S.
Right.
But Temu and Shein and companies like that, they just ship straight from China,
Yeah.
keep their overhead super low.
So completely different approaches. But even Amazon recognized the power of this model.
Oh, yeah.
Remember Amazon Haul?
Yes. That whole section dedicated to those super cheap imports straight from China
Yeah.
really shows how tempting those low prices are.
Totally. And the article had this great story about this.
Yeah, what was it?
The writer went on a huge Amazon Haul shopping spree,
Oh, nice.
ordered a ton of stuff, and only spent like $27.
Wow.
And it all shipped from China, totally duty-free, thanks to de minimis.
A perfect example of how this was working in practice. But
Yeah.
everything changed with Trump's executive order.
It really is a sweeping change, not just a little tweak.
Yeah.
So what exactly did this executive order do?
Basically, it killed the de minimis exemption.
Yeah.
So now every single package coming from China,
Wow.
no matter how small or cheap, gets taxed.
So no more free rides for those $5 gadgets.
Nope.
How much are prices expected to go up?
It's not just a little bump. We're talking a new 10% tariff on top of whatever tariffs were already in place from Trump's previous policies.
So bargain hunting might be over.
Yeah, might be.
So who's going to feel this the most? Is it just us online shoppers?
Well, you'll definitely see higher prices,
Right.
but it goes way beyond that. E-commerce giants like Temu and Shein,
Right.
their whole business relied on avoiding those fees.
Yeah.
Now they've got a tough choice to make.
So do they eat the cost and hurt their profits or
Or they pass those costs on to you, which means higher prices for everyone.
supply and demand? Right.
Exactly. Those ultra-low prices, they were only possible because of that exemption.
Right.
Now that it's gone, someone has to pay.
Makes sense. And a lot of businesses are going to feel this, especially the smaller ones.
Oh, yeah.
Think about all those drape shippers who import cheap stuff from China
Right.
and sell it straight to us.
A lot of them depend entirely on those direct shipments from China.
Right.
No de minimis, their profits could vanish. Their whole business model's in trouble.
Yeah. And what about businesses here in the U.S. that use Chinese parts
That's a good point.
to make their products?
Imagine a business owner who assembles products here, but a lot of their parts come
Wow.
from China.
Right.
Now those parts are suddenly way more expensive because of the tariffs.
And that cost gets passed on to us.
Exactly. It increases prices for consumers across all kinds of industries,
Wow.
even for stuff made in America.
It's like a chain reaction.
Yep, across the whole supply chain.
So no matter how you look at it, we're all going to be paying more
It seems that way.
for those cheap Chinese goods.
Yeah, those days of incredibly low prices
Yeah.
are probably over. We're looking at a huge shift in online shopping.
And this wasn't just a random policy change, right? This was Trump. This was
Right.
this was part of this whole thing with trade, right?
Right.
Using tariffs as leverage.
Exactly. It's
And-
very much in line with his previous trade strategies.
Like when he tried to put tariffs on Mexico and Canada.
Yep, a clear message about his stance on trade with China.
And we have to remember, this isn't just about cheap gadgets.
Right.
So many industries rely on China for essential stuff.
Think about tech, all the smartphones, computers, gaming consoles we use.
Right.
Then there's clean energy, which depends heavily on Chinese manufacturing
All right.
for solar panels and battery components.
So many other industries that need parts and materials from China.
Exactly. These tariffs could drive up costs for everyone,
Wow.
businesses and consumers across a lot of different sectors.
It's like a domino effect.
It really is. It's a complex issue with big consequences.
So we've got these businesses impacted, but what about the people actually handling all these packages?
Yeah.
The USPS, customs officials, they
Yeah.
must be drowning right now.
It's definitely a tough situation. Think about it. The USPS suddenly has to
All right.
process and tax millions of packages every day.
Yeah.
That's a ton of extra work.
And didn't they initially say they would just stop taking packages from China and Hong Kong?
They did, but then they changed their minds pretty quickly.
So are we back to normal? Or are there going to be major delays?
Well, even though they're accepting packages again,
Okay.
experts are predicting big shipping delays because of all the new checks.
Right.
There are just so many packages that need to be inspected and taxed.
It sounds like those 2-day shipping guarantees might be a thing of the past.
Yeah, probably.
So we've talked a lot about the immediate impact of this policy.
Right.
But what about the long-term consequences?
Yeah.
What could this mean for the future of global trade?
That's where things get really interesting.
It sounds like things are going to change a lot for how we shop online.
Yeah, it's a whole new ballgame.
Are we going to see like a shift away from those super cheap imports?
Maybe.
Are people going to start buying more American-made products?
It's possible.
Yeah.
This could encourage that whole buy American sentiment,
Right.
especially if the price difference isn't so big anymore.
Makes sense.
But it's also a chance for businesses to get creative,
Right.
adapt to this new landscape. We might even see domestic manufacturing make a comeback
Oh, interesting.
as companies figure out how to make producing stuff here in the U.S. more competitive.
Yeah. It's crazy to think about all the ripple effects this could have.
Totally.
It goes way beyond just, how much we pay for a phone case or a pair of shoes.
Oh, yeah.
Makes you wonder, could these tariffs actually backfire and end up hurting American consumers in the long run?
It's a valid concern. Higher prices could mean people spend less overall,
Right.
which could then slow down economic growth.
Right.
There's also the risk that companies just move their production to other countries
Oh,
where
right.
labor is cheaper, which wouldn't help American workers.
Right. And what about all those businesses that rely on these global supply chains?
Yeah,
Could this mess things up and lead to like shortages or delays?
absolutely.
Yeah.
This whole situation shows how interconnected the global economy really is.
Yeah.
One disruption in the supply chain can have a domino effect,
Right.
impacting businesses and consumers all over the world. We might see companies start to diversify their supply chains,
Oh,
sourcing goods from multiple countries.
Right. So they're not putting all their eggs in one basket.
Exactly, spreading the risk.
Makes sense. So instead of just focusing on China, they might look to other countries
Right.
for manufacturing.
Exactly. This could push companies to rethink their sourcing strategies,
Yeah.
not just to avoid tariffs, but also to make their supply chains more resilient.
Right. So they can handle any future disruptions.
Exactly.
It feels like we're at like a turning point for global trade.
Yeah, definitely a crossroads.
There are so many different ways this could go.
So many possibilities.
What should we be looking out for as this all plays out?
Well, it'll be interesting to see how companies like Temu and Shein react.
Right.
Do they raise prices, change their sourcing, find some other workaround?
Yeah.
Their strategies will be a good indicator of how the market adapts.
So they're kind of like the canaries in the coal mine.
In a way, yeah.
Yeah.
And what about that potential resurgence in domestic manufacturing?
Right.
Will companies actually bring production back to the U.S. to avoid these tariffs?
It would be great if they did.
It would. It's worth keeping an eye on. If domestic manufacturing gets more competitive,
Yeah.
it could revitalize some industries and create jobs here.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
It would. But we also need to look at the bigger picture.
Yeah.
How the relationship between the U.S. and China changes
Right.
and how that affects global trade overall.
It's a lot to keep track of.
It is a lot of moving pieces.
So many factors at play.
It's a whole web of interconnected issues.
Yeah.
Trade wars, technology disputes, geopolitical tensions,
Right.
all these things are contributing to this global shift.
It's a lot to wrap your head around.
It really is.
So what are some of the potential long-term consequences?
Well, one possibility is that we'll see regional manufacturing hubs pop up.
Okay.
Instead of relying only on China,
Right.
companies might start sourcing production closer to their customers.
So more manufacturing happening in Mexico or Southeast Asia?
Yeah, or even here in the U.S.
Okay.
It could reduce shipping costs and maybe even help them avoid those tariffs.
It could create jobs in those regions.
Right, and boost their economies.
That's a good thing.
It is. And what about those e-commerce giants?
Right.
How do they adapt to this new reality?
Yeah, they can't just keep offering those rock-bottom prices if their costs are going up.
Exactly. They might have to completely rethink their business model.
Wow.
Instead of competing just on price, they might need to focus on other things.
Like what?
Faster shipping, better customer service,
Okay.
maybe even unique products you can't find anywhere else.
So it's not just about being the cheapest anymore.
Right. It's about offering a better overall experience.
Right, so you get more bang for your buck.
Exactly. They might even start investing in warehouses and distribution centers here in the U.S.
Oh, like Amazon has.
Yeah, to speed up shipping and avoid those potential delays.
It's interesting to think about how technology could help with all of this.
Oh, for sure.
Could we see some new innovations coming out?
Absolutely. We could see a surge in innovation around logistics and supply chain management. Think AI systems that can optimize shipping routes,
Yeah.
accurately predict demand, even automate customs processes,
Wow.
make everything more efficient and cost-effective.
So even with these tariffs, technology could help smooth things out.
Exactly, and maybe even create new opportunities.
Right. It's not just about adapting to the rules.
It's about finding ways to thrive within them.
I like that.
These advancements could lead to a more resilient and transparent global trade system.
And for all of us who love to shop online,
Right.
what does this mean for the future of e-commerce?
That's a big question.
Are those mega platforms like Temu and Shein going to start to decline?
It's hard to say for sure, but it's definitely possible. They might need to change their approach,
Right.
focus on things other than just super low prices.
Okay.
Maybe invest in faster shipping, personalized recommendations, or even create exclusive product lines to keep customers coming back.
So they need to offer something special.
Exactly. Stand out from the crowd.
Right.
They might even start partnering with local businesses or manufacturers
Interesting.
to create a more localized and responsive supply chain.
That's a cool idea. So this could actually help smaller businesses compete with those giants?
It could. Consumers might be more likely to support local businesses
Right.
or choose products made closer to home,
Okay.
even if it means paying a bit more.
So we might see more made in America stuff.
Yeah, especially if people become more aware of where their products come from.
Right, and how they were made.
Exactly. It's
Huh.
about making more conscious and informed choices.
Yeah, thinking about the bigger picture.
Absolutely. Considering the whole story of a product,
Yeah,
from where it's made to how it impacts the environment and the people involved.
right. So this could actually be a positive change.
It could encourage businesses to be more responsible
Yeah.
and empower consumers to make better choices.
It's amazing how a change in trade policy can lead to all of this.
It really is.
We started out wondering how those crazy cheap prices were possible.
Right.
Now we're talking about a whole new world of possibilities.
It's a great reminder that the world is constantly changing.
Yeah.
And even small events can have a huge impact.
Absolutely. It's a time of both uncertainty and opportunity.
For sure.
It'll be interesting to see how everything unfolds.
Definitely. A lot to look forward to.
It's wild to think like one executive order could spark so much innovation
Yeah.
and change how people shop. I mean, on a global scale.
It's amazing how these policy decisions can be catalysts.
Yeah.
Sometimes in ways you'd never expect. These new tariffs,
Right.
they create challenges for sure, but they also create opportunities. They
Yeah.
force businesses to adapt and come up with new ideas.
So what kind of innovations are we talking about?
Well,
What's your crystal ball saying?
one thing we might see is a boom in tech designed to streamline the supply chain.
Okay.
I'm talking AI systems that can analyze tons of data to predict what people are going to buy, find the best shipping routes,
Wow.
even automate customs processes, make the whole system more efficient.
So even with these tariffs, technology could help, right?
Exactly.
It's not just about dealing with the new rules. It's about finding ways to win.
That's it. Those advancements could lead to a better global trade system.
Okay. Better in what way?
More resilient, more transparent, more responsive.
Okay, I like that. And for the online shoppers out there, what does this mean for e-commerce?
Hmm.
Are we going to see those big platforms like Temu and Shein start to fade away?
Hard to say for sure, but it's definitely possible.
Okay.
They might need to switch gears,
Right.
stop focusing just on rock bottom prices,
Okay.
maybe invest in faster shipping,
Yeah.
more personalized recommendations,
Right.
maybe even exclusive products you can only get from them.
So it's less about being the cheapest
Right?
and more about creating like a unique shopping experience.
Exactly, giving people a reason to choose them over the competition.
Right, make them stand out.
Yeah, they might even start working with local businesses or manufacturers to build a more localized and responsive supply chain.
So this could actually be good for smaller businesses.
It could.
They could actually compete with the big guys.
Yeah, people might be more willing to support local businesses
Right.
or choose products made closer to home.
Right, even if it costs a little more.
Exactly. We could see a Made in America come back,
I like that.
especially if people start paying more attention to where their stuff comes from.
And how it's made,
Right. It's about making smarter choices as a consumer.
thinking about the ethics, the economics, the whole picture.
Absolutely, considering the full story of a product.
It's amazing how it all connects, right?
Yeah.
From trade policy to supply chains to what we buy to our values.
It's all intertwined.
You started wondering how those crazy cheap prices were possible.
Right.
Now we're talking of a whole new future for global trade and consumption.
It's a great example of how the world is always changing.
Yeah,
Even small things can have huge ripple effects.
it feels like a time of uncertainty,
Yeah,
but also opportunity.
for sure. A lot of exciting possibilities.
Well, this has been an incredible conversation.
It has.
So many things to think about.
Definitely.
Thanks so much for sharing your expertise.
It's been my pleasure.
And to all our listeners out there, thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the world of global trade.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
We hope this episode got you thinking and maybe even inspired you to learn more.
Keep those questions coming.
Remember, the conversation doesn't end here. So keep exploring, keep asking those tough questions.
Stay curious.
This is The Deep Dive, signing off.